Welcome to the
Hello.
Industry 4.0 Club's Fireside Chat. The club's purpose is to engage the power of diverse worldwide talent to accelerate the global evolution to Industry 4.0. We accomplish this by hosting and supporting respectful, thoughtful, and interdisciplinary open conversations and creating quality content on wide-ranging Industry 4.0 topics to expand the reach of our community. My name is Mike Ungar, and I'm the CEO of the Industry 4.0 Club. I have over 40 years of leadership and management experience, with 35 years at Michelin in manufacturing. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mike Yost. Mike, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. As Mike said, my name is Mike Yost. I'm one of the co-founders and the volunteer chairman of the club. I've been in industry for about 35 years, with the last 15 or so on the industrial nonprofit side. And looking forward to conversations here today with Tom.
Thanks, Mike. So today's topic is From Silos to Synergy, Cloud-Based Data Integration. And we're joined today by Tom Connell. Tom is the Vice President for Business Development for Magic Software. Tom is a seasoned leader with decades of experience driving growth, developing innovative technologies, and building strategies that make a difference. As Vice President of Business Development for the Americas for Magic Software, he focuses on helping manufacturers solve complex challenges with cloud-based data management and integration solutions. Previously, he worked at Johnson Controls, where he led development of next-generation life safety solutions, including fire alarm systems and gunshot detection technology, improving emergency response and saving lives. He's also contributed to public safety innovations, holding patents in gunshot detection and emergency responder credentialing. So we're glad that you could join us, Tom. Welcome.
Thank you.
So before we get to the first question, I just want to mention, for those of us joining us on LinkedIn, if you've got a question for Tom during our discussion today, please put it in the comment box, and we'll do our best to get to it and share it with Tom and get a response. So, Mike.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Tom. An interesting topic. We're ready to dive in. But before we do that, a lot of our guests have diverse backgrounds, and I was wondering if you would take a minute and tell us a little bit about your experience and your passion around safety.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just safety, it's service. And it really goes back to the way I was raised. Giving back has always been a cornerstone of my personal and professional philosophy. I started my career in the Army, and Uncle Sam reinforced with, I got to say, incredible effectiveness and enthusiasm and billions of push-ups, right? A deep respect for structure and discipline and teamwork. These are things that my parents and my grandparents had taught me. I grew up in a multi-generational home. So I grew up with, my parents and my grandparents there, which was great because, my dad was a cop and he worked a lot. And my grandfather was there to really help me during my formative years. Anyway, I spent a couple of years overseas, a couple more in CONUS. I was also a full-time reservist. Then I became a firefighter in Riverside, California, Riverside County with the CDF. And then I came back to my hometown here in Westminster, where I served as a volunteer firefighter, EMT, both here and actually in the neighboring town, because my house was equal distance between the two fire stations. I spent 20 years as an urban search and rescue technician and an instructor. I was the co-founder of the Mid-State Technical Rescue Team. I served in a regional dive rescue team. And in the very early part of my career, I was a emergency response team, industrial emergency response team coordinator and a hazmat tech. So you could say that emergency response and life safety was really in my blood. So when I transitioned from the response side, because we all get older, of life safety to the technology side, all those lessons that I learned in the field really shaped the way I approached the work, right? Because I really had a good understanding on how critical it is for technology to be intuitive and reliable, right? It's got to be easy to use, and it's got to deliver, right? Because that maximizes the effectiveness that protects on the life safety side, both victims and responders. And those kind of experiences translated very nicely as I came over here to the manufacturing sector, and we started to explore Industry 4.0's potential. Because even though the focus is different, it's just as critical for the technology to be intuitive and reliable. And the technology, like in life safety, can be a powerful force multiplier, right? Because on the life safety side, it enables response teams to operate more effectively and create a safer environment for everybody. And in the manufacturing sector, where intuitive technology can again become a powerful force multiplier, it also helps create a safer workplace, right? So it's not just more productive, it's also safer. Probably more than you wanted to know, but there it is.
I've never met anybody that's done billions of push-ups before, so that's good to know.
So with that background, I mean, in safety and security,
yeah.
What motivated you to join Magic Software?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because if you look at it, if you're out on LinkedIn and you kind of take a look at where I was and where I've ended up, it may look like Magic was like a real significant departure from my career path. And honestly, when I first started considering Magic, when I was talking to them, I thought it was going to be that way. But as it turns out, joining Magic was a real natural step for me, because it married two of my passions, right? I love to solve complex challenges, right? And I love small business, right? I love startups. I love small businesses, family-owned businesses. And, enabling businesses to succeed through innovative technology is just something that I could really sink my teeth into. And Magic's focus on integration and data management and analytics really align perfectly with what I've seen companies need. And I mean that, both by what I hear and, in firsthand. I've got several friends that have small, $20, $50 million manufacturing operations. And you talk about this stuff over beers, right? Even before I was with Magic. But most importantly at Magic, I found there's a really strong sense of teamwork and a shared commitment to empowering businesses. So I saw an opportunity with the company not only to help our clients transform, but to be part of a group that's super passionate about what they do. And so far, it's really been an incredible experience.
Well, Tom, talk about the cloud. A lot of people just think storage, right? And if we talk about the topic here about cloud-based data integration and talking from silos to synergy, can you talk about the advantages that folks can realize when they think beyond just the cloud as a storage mechanism?
Yeah, and absolutely. So, the cloud as a storage mechanism is it's a supporting part, almost a foundational part of what I often refer to as the three-tiered stool, right? And that three-tier stool is, for connecting all your data so that you have access to it, right? Breaking down those silos, and then having that location for that sole source of truth, and that's the cloud. And then once that data is there, then you can maximize the availability of that data, make it actionable, and start to solve problems. So I think storing data in the cloud is a big plus. The other thing is manufacturers are not in the IT business, right? And really they're not in the OT business for that matter. They're in the business of making stuff, right? So dealing with server management and server maintenance headaches and communications headaches is a distraction, and it keeps them from doing what they do best. But the real magic happens, kind of pun intended, right? When the cloud becomes more than storage, right? The cloud is about connecting systems. It's about connecting people, whether they're individual or whether you're cross-functional teams. And, for your manufacturers that are out there, imagine you break down the walls between your production and your finance and your logistics teams, just by way of example. With cloud tools, your data can flow freely, and it gives everyone a much clearer picture of what's happening and what's happening in real time. So that means that you can make your decisions a lot quicker, your operations smooth out, you're improving teamwork, And instead of the teams working in silos, they all end up on the same page, right? Because the teams can be in silos just like the data can be in silos, right? So this is also about connecting people together. It's like moving it from playing solo, right, to being part of a championship team. And that's, I think, where the cloud really shines, is turning that data into a tool for collaboration and success.
It means we're going to have to get rid of all the carrier pigeons that we had hired to help communicate back and forth between.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes I think that it's gerbils running on little tread wheels that's actually powering some of these cloud communication solutions. But yeah, I mean, we do need. It's about modernization, right? I mean, I think I put manufacturers, and I'm going to go back on my public safety experience here, right? I put manufacturers in the exact same category as I put the fire service. And we've got a saying in the fire service that we've got 100 years of tradition unimpeded by progress, right? And let's face it, manufacturing, especially, again, your small and mid-sized manufacturers who absolutely know what they're doing, like whatever they're building, what they're creating, what that consumer product is or that intermediary is that they're putting out there. These guys can do that stuff with their eyes closed, right? Businesses that are multi-generational, right? My great-grandfather started it. My kids are going to take it over. They've got that piece down, right? The modernization aspect where you can really start to optimize the business beyond what the tradition has had you doing for the last several generations, that's getting rid of the carrier pigeons and getting rid of the gerbils. And yeah, it's a huge leap. We've come so far in communications and computing technology, even over the last 20 years. Over the course of my career, my first computer was a gateway tower that, honest to goodness, was bigger than my youngest child. I mean, it's amazing the tools that we have. And I get really excited about seeing how we take these tools and take this new technology and help manufacturers like turn their business from a 20th century focused business to a 21st century focused business.
So along that line, I used to be in a leadership team at Mesa International, and I used to tell everybody that we never really had the cloud conversation, because it started off, I was like, no way, that'll never work here. Do that. And then all of a sudden, everybody was using it. We don't have to talk about that, right? So it was one of those things where it very quickly gained acceptance. And I'm wondering, to the point that you were just talking about with mindset and historical mindset. Like, do you see that changing? Do you see folks willing to get into the discussion and learn the value of the things?
I do. I think we're really rapidly approaching. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're rapidly approaching that tipping point, right? And it really is not necessarily technology driven, but it's driven by the people. The folks that are in the planning and the decision-making processes right now, these folks are, for the most part, they're like me, right? They're Gen Xers, right? The folks that are up and coming, and a lot of them have already inserted themselves, right? In from a management standpoint, into planning and development standpoint. They're the millennials, and they're folks that these people, whereas for us Gen Xers, like we were there when the first PCs came out, like we started the drive, but where people are today, the way they communicate, the expectations for information at your fingertips all the time, right? This is what is, I think, driving, cloud adoption. Right. In order to AI is a great example, right? AI the expectation is Chat GPT, you put in a question, it spits out an answer, and sometimes you're just amazed at what you're getting back out. But a lot of people, what they're not thinking about is the years of learning and the massive amounts of data that had to go into teaching that tool. So you're getting those incredible answers back out. And you could only do that with cloud technology, right? You could only do that if you were able to take just countless data sources and connect them together and centralize that and allow that AI engine to learn and continue to learn and mature and develop. So, I think we're starting to, the expectations are going higher and higher and higher. And then the people who are driving the decisions are having that much higher they're expecting those instant answers. They're expecting those analytics to work just like that, right? So in another 10 years, 10, 15 years, we're going to look back and we're going to I can't believe that we used to do this any other way, right? It's just going to be, it's going to be cloud natural.
It's interesting that you talk about that. Are there situations where maybe it's better to modify the data systems on the ground rather than send everything up to the cloud? I know when I think about some of the legacy systems that I had worked with before, I mean, some of them just needed to be upgraded. It didn't make any sense to not take care of that. What's your experience with that, Tom?
Yeah, so absolutely, right? I think it makes sense to clean some things up before moving them to the cloud, right? The data sets, because if you think about it, your older systems, they're probably holding outdated data. They're probably holding a lot of unformatted, very messy, call it, data, right? And if you send that straight to the cloud, all you're doing is moving your problem from point A to point B. So with tools, and I'm going to use Magic as an example here. We have a tool called XPI, which is our low code, no code integration tool, right? You can connect those older systems to the cloud without a complete overhaul, right? So it does make it much easier. However, 9 times out of 10, I think it's going to make your life a whole lot easier in the long run if you tidy up that data on-prem first. But it's all about finding the balance, right? Everybody has different requirements. Everybody has a different pace that they want to move. And it's all about finding the balance that works for your business and making sure that your data is ready to roll when it hits the cloud.
That's great. No, that's a perfect perspective there to share. Yeah, you mentioned the Gen X started this whole thing. I like to think baby boomers did, just because I'm one of those folks. No, we laugh. You laugh because when I started, we had one computer in the plant when I started working in manufacturing. And you look at the evolution today and what's happening now, it really requires quite a bit of adaptation. But I can only imagine if we'd had the technology then that we have now. It's amazing to think about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, I don't think we're moving so quickly that almost too quickly. In some cases, and this isn't just specific to manufacturing, right? I mean, cloud technology is impacting everybody, right? It impacts us, in our personal lives. It impacts us in how we access our own information. It just blows my mind that one of my kids will be like, "Hey, Dad, can you lend me, $100? I'm short on groceries," and I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And I whip out my phone and I can just transfer $100 from my account to their account, right? And it's done fast, it's secure. And, you compare that to the days where if somebody made that request, you had to go to a branch, walk in there, withdraw the money, then go find somebody else to hand them. It's mind blowing, right? And when we look at it, when we look at all this and we look back at how it impacts our day-to-day lives, how we socially interact, all of this is cloud-based. Yeah, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And I think the older we are, the more we can really see that massive change, that massive perspective, where my adult children, like, they've grown up with this. It's it's an expectation, right?
Yes.
That it would be unusual not to have these kind of capabilities. And that's that tipping point I was talking about. We're getting there, and manufacturers are going to have to get on board with this, because the expectation is that my interaction, my work with the manufacturer, if I'm supporting manufacturers and supply chain, whatever the case may be, it's going to be like, if you're not doing it like you're doing everything else in your life, then you're behind. You're behind. And that's why it's really important, like, groups like yours are spreading the message out to manufacturers. And more importantly, you guys are also listening to what manufacturers have to say, and you're getting it out to the providers, the solution providers. And any solution provider that just doesn't have their ear to the railroad track right now, all the time, they're not worth talking to.
So I just want to a couple of points quickly. Remind everybody that if you're following along, have questions, go ahead and enter them into the comment section, and we'll try to answer them. Just wanted to give Mike a note that you got some support from other baby boomers who are watching, so that's good to know. I guess, Tom, I'm thinking, I believe Magic's experience is on the enterprise data side, and a lot of capabilities from a data transformation perspective and such. That whole domain, and then working into the manufacturing environment where you're getting into the OT world and the challenges of production environment. How do you guys manage that or deal with that, or I guess how do you deal with the two different worlds that are becoming much more like one world, given where you guys came from?
Yeah. So, I mean, Mike, it's a really good question, because it gets to the heart of what makes, I think, Magic so effective, right? So our perspective is that you need to understand that IT and OT have different priorities, often almost all the time, right? But those priorities are not at odds. They're complementary, right? IT is focused on the data security and the scalability and the integration. Well, OT is all about the real-time operations and the uptime and the safety. And bridging that gap requires a very, very careful balance, right? The people sometimes may be at odds, right? This is my kingdom. This is my kingdom, right? And they want to keep control of those kingdoms. But just like in government, right? Alliances are between countries, right? Alliances are critically important. We are stronger together than we are working separately, right? So that's the way. I'm sorry. That's why we need to bridge those gaps, right? So Magic delivers value by offering tools and services that integrate seamlessly into OT environments without disrupting critical operations. And mind you, our roots are on the IT side, right? So we take that, what, 40 years now worth of IT experience and expertise that we brought in on the OT environments, and to create that bridge, right? Create that OT environment that isn't going to have any kind of disruption to what the manufacturing operation is. Sometimes these tools are ours, and we have them right out of the box. Sometimes the client will ask us to build into a solution requirement, and sometimes one of our strategic partners brings their expertise to the table. So just by way of example, because I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but I'll use security, right? So a defense or aerospace manufacturer, they need a bomb-proof, maybe need a bomb-proof managed detection and response capability, right? So that's not our specialty area. So we'll introduce a partner like Gradient Cybersecurity, right? Their solutions are intertwined with our solution set for that particular customer. You know, Magic does not have the attitude or the perspective that we do everything, right? We know that there's things that we do really, really well. And I truly believe, you know, that old adage, and folks should use this a lot more when you're on the provider side. I know a guy, right? Those are like some of the three most important words in technology and technology provisioning and providing a solution, because you know it's about our network. It's about bridging the gaps between different kinds of solution providers and offering the manufacturer the best set of solutions and so on and so forth. So, you know, getting back to the IT OT thing, our solutions respect OT's unique demands, reliability, precision, and it brings the strength of IT, the advanced analytics, the centralized data management, the enhanced security, brings all that to the table. So it allows both sides, IT and OT, to benefit without any compromise. And so what's really exciting about this is how that synergy can unlock new opportunities, because when you integrate OT systems with IT analytics, all of a sudden now the companies are gaining predictive insights that they never had before, that improve efficiency. It's reducing downtime. It's not just about connecting the systems, it's about creating a partnership, right? And I mentioned earlier, right, it's just as important to build those partnerships with the cross-functional teams. Well, you know, you got your IT over here, you got your OT over here. You want to build the communication and the cooperation between those teams. And to facilitate that, you need to build the cooperation and the data exchange between those two solution sets that those teams are using, and that drives better outcomes for the whole organization. And I think Magic excels at making that partnership work.
That's great. You know, it's funny as you describe that, I think about the cloud, and we talked about from silos to synergy, and what you just described from a working with others perspective is the same sort of approach where collaboration and teamwork gets the best results. And so that was really neat. Thanks for sharing that.
You know, like I've always said, the most effective leader, the most successful people out there are not successful because I don't believe that they're successful because they're geniuses, right? Because they have a secret sauce answer. The most successful people surround themselves with a whole lot of people much smarter than they are, and what they bring to the table, that individual, is the ability to pull teams together. It's the ability to communicate. It's the ability to translate information between those teams. You know, put the R&D speak into marketing speak, so that the marketing people can understand, right?
Yeah.
That's I think that's the key to success.
Well, thank you for that. We've been talking for the last 30 minutes or so with Tom Connell. Tom is the Vice President for Business Development for Magic Software. As we reach the end of our time together, Mike, do you have a final thought you'd like to share with the group, and then maybe ask Tom the same question?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, the point of silos to synergy, right? The cloud is about a lot more than just storing data, and that there are lots of experienced folks around that can help. And so I appreciate Tom being here and sharing a little bit of his personal perspective as well as his company's perspective.
Thanks, Mike. Tom, your final thoughts?
Sure. Anybody who knows me knows that I always have tons of thoughts, but I'll try to keep it really concise here. So here's the thing. Industry 4.0 is not just about fancy technology, right? It's about making your team's life easier. It's about making your business more connected. And tools like Magic's XPI, for instance, and the managed cloud services don't just tear down silos, they open up new possibilities. I had a colleague who used to use the term all the time, the art of the possible. And I don't think that that's an overused term. I actually think that it's sometimes undervalued. My advice in the end, if you're ready to do this, and you're ready to connect your data, you're ready to get it up into the cloud, you're ready to see it visualized and using the tools, start small. You don't need to overhaul everything all at the same time, right? Focus on connecting the dots first, building the momentum, and then with the right tools and mindset, you're going to be surprised at how far you go and how fast you move.
Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate those final thoughts. So as I mentioned, we've been talking with Tom Connell. Tom is the Vice President for Business Development for Magic Software. So Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Mike,
the industry 4.0 Club would like to encourage those listening to take action to advance the deployment of Industry 4.0. It might be as simple as reading an article, attending a workshop, or maybe even developing a smart manufacturing roadmap for your plant or company, or challenging your leaders in your company to move forward. So we'd like to know what actions you're taking, and you can share those with us on our website or on our LinkedIn page. We routinely host conversations like these, and we broadcast on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you'd like to join us for a broadcast, we'd also like to hear from you. Please, again, contact us at our website, www.industry40club.com, or drop us a note on LinkedIn, and we'll get back to you. So that concludes our time together. Tom, thanks again. Mike, thank you. And we wish everybody a wonderful day and a wonderful week.
See ya.
Good night.